Shalom Chaverim, Shalom Talmidim, Shalom Casual Watchers. My name is Rabbi R Shapira and I'm the founder of Ahavat Ami Ministries. And I'm so thrilled to invite you to a live on-demand Shiur on the internet with me from the weekly Torah portion in our program Plinei Torah. Every week we get together to study Moses. And the reason we want to study Moses, because when we study Moses, he will point the way to Messiah. And that's really what we want to find, the Jewish Messiah. And this week we have an explosive episode from Parashat Chukat. We're in the book of Numbers. But before I do that, I'd like to just remind you can catch this episode on our mobile application. If you have not downloaded it, you can at Ahavat Ami. Thank you for your prayers, and thank you for your support. This is take a lot of resources and a lot of time to bring you this programming in excellence. So we really appreciate your support as we want to continue to give you this programming completely free of charge every week. And this week I'm scratching my head a little bit as I look at Parashat Chukat, because it seems that there are three events that are taking place in this Torah portion, and they seem unrelated. Usually, when you read a parasha, what we call a parasha has a theme. And here, it appears like there is no theme to the parasha. The Torah portion starts talking about the red heifer. After the red heifer, we read about Mei Meriva and about the fact that Moses spoke instead of speaking to the rock, he hit the rock, etc., etc. He did exactly what God told him not to do. And then after that, we read about the serpent of bronze that God has commanded Moshe to do. Now, those three things seems completely disjointed from one another, okay? And I would like to suggest to you today that there's actually a great theme in this message called What's in Your Bucket that connect those three events together. So I would like to actually go to the central point, the central text for today's teaching from Numbers chapter 20. And again, it's really important that you have your Hebrew Tanakh if you speak Hebrew. If not, you can follow in your English Bible. There's certain words that I highlight on my screen for a reason, because it's something I would like you to pay attention to. So let's turn to Numbers 20, verse 1 together. And it starts in the Hebrew. It says, Vayavo bnei Israel Kol ha'eda midbar tzin. They came all the way, the entire congregation. And I guess I'd like to start by pointing to you that it's used the term Kol ha'eda. Why is it telling us that the entire community was there? Why is it seems redundant? Because it's what to suggest, the rabbis wanted to suggest that they want us to know that the people at this point were after what happened, of course, we read in Parashat Chukat, those who were left, remnant, were in one heart and one accord. They were one body, they were one community. The only way God going to work is if they are working in unity. There was some unity among the congregation. How do we know they are congregation? Because it doesn't say they were kahal. They used the term edah. And notice, kol ha'edah, the word edah comes from the word edut, like the ark. This is Aron ha'edut. It represents the unique testimony, a single testimony that they have as one group of people. But something has happened. בחודש הראשון וישב העם בקודש ותמות שם מרים ותקברן. There was set in Kadesh. I say Kadesh, Kadesh Barnea. They're sitting in Kadesh Barnea, and Miriam died there, and it was buried there. First of all, I want you to think about why does it say there and there? There's a reason for that. We'll get to that later. But then it says, and there was no water for the congregation, and they assembled themselves together against Moshe and against Aaron. Again, the word there is not assembled. We saw it last week in Korach, and here again, v'yikalu. Notice it doesn't use now they use the word itkahalut, which is not the same as the word edah, because itkahalut means truly to gang up. They were ganging up on Moses, okay? And the people stood with Moses and spoke, saying, What that we have perished when our brethren perish before the Lord, okay? So we have, things appears to go from bad two wars. First we had Korach rebellion, then after Korach rebellion, now we see Miriam death. After Miriam death, we see now that there is no water. And remember, the key point I wanted to discuss with you today is why we see the death of Miriam appears in connection to the red heifer. What is the connection to the red heifer, the death of Miriam? There's a great and important principle that everybody have to learn. One of the things that people usually object to is the fact that Yeshua can die as an atonement for the sins of many. That's one of the most common objections to Yeshua. I'd like you to hear what Rashi is saying as he is quoting from the Talmud Moed Katan 28a. And on the word, and Miriam died there, here is what Rashi says. He says, why is the section, and now here you go, this is the answer. Why is the section narrating the death of Miriam placed immediately after the section treating of the red cow? To suggest to you that the following comparison. What is the purpose of the sacrifice? They affect atonement, according to Rashi. So too does the death of a tzaddik, the word righteous is a tzaddik, affect atonement. And he's quoting from Moed Katan 28a. What is Rashi telling us? He's telling us that the death of Miriam is affected, is connected to the red heifer to highlight that our death of our righteous not only save, but the death of the righteous bring merit. We call it in Hebrew zchut. And matter of fact, in the prayers, in our prayer, it's time to do Amidah pretty soon, Mincha. And we start the Mincha prayer, with Avot. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak ve'Elohei Yaakov, האל הגיבור הגדול והנורא, אל עליון גומל חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכר. What he remember? He remembered the mercy. He remembered the mercy because of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Atonement come. Okay, there is this concept. Do you want to know why in the new covenant Shaul continued to say, remember Abrahamic covenant, Abrahamic? Here's the reason, it's in the Torah. A tzaddik can bring atonement to a generation. Your act of sin can affect the world, but your act of righteousness can also change and transform the entire world. That is a principle of Judaism that affects specifically, as we'll see again in a moment, to a Mashiach. So you want to know who is the Mashiach in this chapter? The Mashiach, friend, is this chapter is Miriam. Miriam is a portrait of the Mashiach. Rashi actually continued, and now he said, now let me teach you and let me tell you why actually after Miriam's death, all of a sudden we read in the text, there's no water. Look what Rashi says. He says, since this statement follow immediately, the very next verse, after the mention of Miriam's death, we may learn from it that during the entire 40 years, they had the well. What is the well? It's water. What is water? It's life. Through who? Through Miriam merit. Amazing. You want to know how Israel received water? They received water through the merit of Miriam. When a tzaddik is a tzaddik in such a high level of a merit, he can provide life to the world around him. The higher tzaddik he is, the more merit there is. That's why in Lag BaOmer, every Jew who is a practicing Jew go in Lag BaOmer to Mount Meron and stand and pray that every decree, every evil eye, every calamity will go on the head of Rabbi Simon Bar Yochai, because he is a greater tzaddik. You see, that is the principle. So those who say Messiah cannot take upon himself the atonement of the people, he's lying not just to Judaism, he's lying to what the Torah is teaching. And as a matter of fact, the Targum Yonatan, I want to show you what the Aramaic Targum reads on this exact verse. Let's read this verse together with the Targum. The Targum says this, and as on account of the innocency. Look, this is the Targum. Of the innocency of Miriam, a well had been given. So when she died, the well was hidden. And the congregation had no water. And they gathered again Moshe and Aaron. So what do you need? You need the scapegoat. Who is the scapegoat here? It is Moses and Aaron. Okay, they represent those two things. Okay, in essence, the life of a tzaddik, your life is in a tzaddik, can bring water. Okay, your life as a tzaddik can bring life. When you perform a mitzvah, you not perform a mitzvah for you, you perform a mitzvah for the world around you to bring life. You bring Mashiach. Every time a mitzvah is performed, that's why I used to teach in my synagogue, that I always told them, don't run, don't walk when you do mitzvah, run when you do mitzvah. There is no such a concept of doing mitzvah in dragging your feet. In the New Covenant Scripture, it says, do things, all things as you do them unto the Lord. Why? Because when you do a mitzvah and you turn to be a tzaddik, you bring a merit to the world. Okay? And this merit here that was brought through Miriam is the word well. It's water. Friends, what is the suffix of the word water? Or what is the word water is made out of? Mime. When we sing mime in Shabbat every week, mime, u'mime v'sason, mime. What do we say? Mime is the suffix of rachamim, mercy. Mercy. When you transform yourself to be a tzaddik, you bring mercy to the Lord through Messiah. Because you are transforming yourself to be the Messiah. So who is the one who's bringing water to the world? Well, let's see. Let's see what the rabbis has actually explained about Moses. Because think about it. It is not a coincidence that they didn't have water. One tzaddik died. Well, a greater tzaddik rose up. Who's the greater tzaddik than Miriam? Moses. That's why Moses was able to do the same thing Miriam did, because he was a greater tzaddik. Look at this with me in connection to the messianic connection. We read this. Rabbi Yochanan said again, rain may descend even, by the way, this comes from Ein Yaakov, a midrashic book, for the sakes of the notorious men, a tzaddik, as it is written in Deuteronomy 28:12. The Lord will open unto thee his good treasure, the heaven to give rain, etc. But general prosperity comes only for the sake of the public at large. Are you reading that? That's amazing. Prosperity comes only for the world, not for you. An objection was raised. Rabbi Yossi said in the name of Rabbi Yudah, 3 good leaders were given to Israel. And the 3 are Moshe, Aaron, and Miriam. And 3 good gifts were given through them. Namely, here it is, the well of water, pillar, and manna. They connect those to 3 tzaddikim, to the 3 righteous. This is absolutely crucial, friends. Pay attention. The well of water, which Israel had along with the desert, the rabbi said, was giving them for the sake of who? Of Miriam. The cloud of glory was giving them for the sake of Aaron. And the manna was giving them for the sake, or in the Hebrew, the word zechut of Moshe. When Miriam died, the well vanished. As it says in Numbers 21:1. Miriam died there and they were buried there. Let's continue. Next slide. And immediately afterwards, it is written. Here you go. I want to pay attention to it. And there was no water in the congregation. The well was then restored. Here we go. It was restored to Israel through the prayer of Moshe and Aaron. A tzaddik has to replace a tzaddik. Okay, in order for the same action to take place. When Aaron died, the pillar cloud of glory left. The well and the pillar cloud of the glory were restored to them for the sake of Moses. But when Moses died, everything vanished. Here you go. As it is said in Zechariah 11:8, and I removed the 3 shepherds in 1 month. Did Moses, Aaron, Miriam died in the same month? Behold, Moses and in Adar, Aaron in Av, and Miriam in Nisan. We infer from this passage the 3 great gifts were given to Israel disappeared at the same month in which Moses died. Hence, we can put the support that is given for the sake of even one man? No. With Moses, it's different. For his merit were so great that he is equal the entire congregation. Friend, this is incredible. Moses' merit was so high, so great, that he was able to overcome even what Miriam and Aaron has done combined. But there is a problem, because the rabbi says, when Moses disappeared, when Moses died, who is going to replace Moses? Who is going to take the role of Moses? Who can have the level of righteousness of Moses? You see, somebody have to replace the water. Somebody have to replace the manna. Somebody have to replace the cloud. Somebody have to do that, and you have to be on a higher merit than Aaron, than Miriam, and then Moses himself. And who is this, friends? You guessed it right. It is the Messiah. People ask me all the time, is Messiah greater than Moses? The answer is, of course, yes. Messiah has to be greater than Moses, because in order to do the things Moses has done and even more, his tzedakah has to be greater. His atonement is greater because it affected the entire world. Moses' tzedakah, Moses' atonement was only on his generation, and even that was in a limited basis. Mashiach is a higher tzaddik, so therefore his death will atone for much more than Moses. But if Moses is gone and God is just, he will provide us another way. Look what it says in Kohelet Rabbah. Those of you who read The Return of the Kosher Pig, that might be familiar to you. Kohelet Rabbah 1:9, it says, why is his name called Chazir? Because in the future he will return the kingdom to his proper owners. Say Rabbi Bechai, in the name of Rabbi Yitzchak, as the first Redeemer, who is Moses, by the way, so will be the last Redeemer. What is slated for the first Redeemer? Here you go. Who is the first Redeemer? Moses. And Moses took his wife and his son, and he took upon a donkey, and he returned to the land of Egypt. And what it says on the last Redeemer, your king is coming. He is triumphant, victorious, slowly riding upon the donkey. Zechariah 9:9. From the first Redeemer, he brought of a manna, as it said, behold, I will cause to rain from heaven for you. So is the last Redeemer, as it is stated. May he be rich, may be as rich as cornfield in the land upon the top of the mountains. Of the first Redeemer, it says, and he sat down by the well. By the last Redeemer will be the source of the water. He will be the source of the water, as it is stated. And all the brooks of Yehuda shall flow with water. And the fountains shall come forth of the house of the Lord, and shall water the valley of Shittim. Friends, the rabbis parallel the first Redeemer to the last Redeemer, and they say, of course the last Redeemer going to be superior. The reason he's going to be superior, because he have to rectify what Moses has already rectified right there. But now that Moses is gone, somebody had to come and rectify even what Moses could not do. And one of the things that the rabbis understood is this idea of water. Isn't it interesting that the Torah portion talked this week about water? They said Moses has never been the owner of water. And what is water? What is rachamim? You can say I'm a Torah observant. You can say I convert to Judaism. You can say I love the Torah. You can say whatever you want. Moses does not have the authority to give rachamim. Okay? And look at what the rabbi quoted, not me. You want to argue with me, argue with me. But this is the rabbis. They quoted from Exodus chapter 2, verse 15, and they say on Moshe, now, when Pharaoh heard this thing, he sought to slay Moses. But Moses fled on the face of Pharaoh and dwelt to the land of Midian, and he sat down by a well. Actually, the Hebrew says, Vayeshev ala be'er. Moshe, not sitting by a well, Moses sitting with his tuches on top of the whale. That's what he said. He's sitting on top of the whale. Look at what Rashi said. This is not me, this is Rashi. Rashi says, here's the word Vayeshev, has a meaning of sitting down. He learned to sit at the well from Yaakov, whose marriage has been brought about the means of the well. This is very, very important. There have been multiple weddings in Jewish history that took place in the well. I want you to notice that. Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov all had something to do with the well. Moses seated the well and he says, I'm going to point the way to the well. I'm not the well. I'm not the owner of the well, and I'm not the owner of the water on the well. Ecclesiastes Rabbah said the owner of the water in the water itself is Mashiach, because he will rectify what Moses could not rectify. And through him, all of Israel will receive atonement. But Moses, he's simply just a road stop, and he said, here I am here. Therefore, Yeshua says, whoever believes Moses. You want to know why we study Torah? We study Torah so we can find Mashiach. If one studied Torah and doesn't find Mashiach, then he studied the wrong Torah, friend. Wake up! And I'm talking to my Jewish people right now. The essence of the Torah is Mashiach. It's not a coincidence that the story of Yaakov happened in the well, the marriage, because it's come to talk about the ultimate merit of the owner of the well. Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Moses, all come to point our way to the well, friends. In the book of Yochanan, we see an amazing parable, amazing connection that was made by Yeshua to the well. And the woman approached him and says to him, Sir, the woman tells Yeshua, that's Yochanan 4, around verse 11. You don't have a bucket, and the well is deep. Then from where do you get the living water? Because you should say, I'm the living water. You are not greater than our father Jacob, are you? He gave us this well. He drank out of it himself. You see, the woman is quoting a midrash. She is quoting the midrash. Amazing. With his son and his cattle. She knows the Bible, she knows the Midrash. And I want you to hear Yeshua reply. Yeshua replied to her, everybody who drinks from this water will get thirsty again. But whoever drinks from the water I will give him will never be thirsty. The water that I give him will become a fountain of water within him, spring up to eternal life. What I am trying to tell you today, even the water that Moshe Rabbeinu gave us miraculously, you know what? It wasn't a blessed water. Look at what Moshe have to endure. Mei Meriva, the war of feud. It was a short-term effect. The father that Miriam gave us through her death, short term. There's only one source of water that can take the thirst, the quench our thirst, and it is Mashiach, because he is greater than Moses. So my question for you today, what is inside your bucket? Do you carry Miriam? Do you carry Aaron and Moses? Do you carry the prophet? You carry our traditions? What is inside your bucket? All those things are good, but those things will run out and you will go dry and you will eventually perish unless you turn to the one source of water that will never turn dry. And that is, friend, what is the Torah lesson is all about. Turn your heart to Mashiach, because he is the true living water. And what is in your bucket is the question that you need to ask yourself today. I hope you've been blessed by this lesson. Litraot v'kol tov.